Right, Filip Hrgović against Daniel Dubois. This one didn't come out of nowhere. We had heard this one rumoured, but what made me think that maybe it wouldn't be next was obviously Filip Hrgović. We haven't really seen him in a real meaningful fight since the Zhilei Zhang fight. Obviously, there were circumstances around that fight. His father had passed away in the build-up. That was why it was delayed in the first place. And then he's looked fairly underwhelming since. And then with the rise of Daniel Dubois and the fact that Filip Hrgović is in line for his world title shot, I thought that maybe we'd see him sit, wait out and see what happened with the belts. But Turki Al Sheikh and the boys over in Saudi have come in, and obviously they've convinced Filip Hrgović to take this fight now, which for the boxing fans means it's a massive win for us. We're seeing two heavyweights, both I would say inside my top 10, go at it.
Very young as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're in their prime. Dubois still in his 20s.
Dubois is about 26, I think.
26. Yeah. I think Hrgović might be early 30s.
He might be just turning 30 now, Hrgović.
It's a great indicator of the future of the division. Obviously, the rumours are all over the internet about Hrgović flattening Dubois when they sparred. A lot has happened since then. And Dubois said in the press conference, I'm going to show him people change.
Yep.
Which sounds... Dubois is like the king of trash talk, isn't he now? I honestly think Dubois has changed. I think he has gotten so much better. And the fight that proved it to me was the Usyk fight. I watched that fight back very recently when I was on the treadmill. And I was like, the more I watched it, the more I thought, fuck me, you know what? Dubois really did well here. And I do think an element of that was Usyk slowing down a little bit. It wasn't the same Usyk that AJ got. AJ got the mover. I don't know if Usyk just didn't respect Dubois as much, but he definitely stood in front of him a lot more, and he was like, I'm going to get this guy out there. But Dubois really can crack, and I like he puts good combinations together, and I think he's a threat to any heavyweight now. I don't think anyone should pick, when I seen Dubois crumble in front of Joe Joyce, I'm like, all it took was a jab. That was shite, to be honest. Now I'm looking at him thinking, you're a threat to any fighter who steps in there with you. You're a problem.
I feel like whenever we're trying to work out what goes on inside a fighter's head, all we can actually do is draw reference to how we feel that we would think and feel in those sort of situations. So Dubois had the quitter label thrown at him, but actually it's like, the guy broke his orbital bone. And we've seen from Kell Brook in a couple of fights, he broke it against Golovkin, and then I think the next fight he broke it on the other eye against Errol Spence, which is desperately unlucky. To break that orbital bone, you're not seeing out of that eye. You're at the time, 23 years old, maybe 22 years old, something like that. That is very young. And you're understanding that not only has it been, let's say, for example, right, I'm in a fight. The guy's not landing a shot on me, and then all of a sudden he lands one lucky left hook, breaks my cheekbone. Now then, I might have to come to a decision. Am I going to carry on here or not? Can I carry on or not? But what I do know is that was one lucky shot that did that. And he's going to have to replicate that again. And I might bank on or gamble on the chance that he can't replicate it again. It was a very repeatable process in terms of what he was getting hit with. It was the jab, and the jab was landing heavy and, I wouldn't say fast, it was Joe Joyce's jab. It was landing heavy,
There was 200 and odd pounds, nearly 300 pounds behind it, wasn't it?
Exactly.
He's a fucking massive company.
Exactly. So I don't know whether this would have gone through Daniel Dubois' head, but potentially you're thinking, am I pulling myself out here to live to fight another day? Could I go permanently blind in this eye, which we know can happen from a broken orbital bone? So
I've never broken an orbital bone, but I do know if I did, I'd not want Joe Joyce punching me in there afterwards.
I wouldn't want Joe Joyce punching me without a broken orbital bone, to be honest, if the option's on the table. And I do think that since that fight, we've definitely seen a progression of Daniel Dubois. We've seen him checked. I think he's been dropped now 6 times or something. Obviously, he was dropped 3 times in one fight.
I never thought watching that fight that we would get the performance we got from him against Usyk, though. Whoever's training him, you're doing a fucking great job.
But we probably never thought after watching the Joe Joyce fight that we would see him in with Usyk.
Yeah.
And this again comes back to what I was saying about very quickly to write people off. It's just in our nature sometimes as fight fans, someone loses and you can't unsee what you've just seen. And if you've just seen that man quit, if you've seen him get nailed to the canvas, his ears boxed off, you can't unsee it and it's very hard. But what you don't realise is for what you saw on the night, you didn't see the 6-8 week training camp that went in. You didn't see how they were doing. So sometimes these guys can come back and they can come back with a vengeance. And I think that's exactly what we've seen from Daniel Dubois.
Yeah, and the Big Baby Miller fight was really good, like a really good performance, because that was the one where you can conquer demons, because Big Baby actually, for the size of him, he's over 300 pounds. He can box for a massive dude. I don't know how he moves as well as he does, and he was putting it on Dubois, and Dubois showed, no, I'm not going anywhere here. And then he overcame him, and that was like, I thought, you know what, that's probably done wonders for you mentally.
But you know what as well, mentally is the key word you just touched on there. What does Big Baby offer? Yeah, okay, he offers a high output for a big man, a guy that can put punches in bunches together. But probably most significantly, when we're talking about the development of Daniel Dubois, what does Big Baby offer? If you're weak, Big Baby ain't the guy you want to be in there with.
He talks a lot, doesn't he?
Exactly.
He's good at it.
So I think he's ticked that box now. He's come through from it, and he'll be coming into this one on a massive, massive high. The problem is about 6'6" tall, Croatian, and stands across the ring from him, because Filip Hrgović is not called El Animal for no reason. He's a serious contender too. Have you been impressed by what you've seen of Filip Hrgović?
Not really. It's a weird one to say that, because when I'm watching him, I'm like, yeah, you're outboxing Zhang. That's impressive, right? But when I'm watching it as a spectacle, I'm not impressed. I've got to see every Hrgović fight. That's not how I feel about him. I'm like, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you'll give people problems. Do I think you're ever going to be as good as the top guys right now? Maybe he'll win the belt one day. I'm not saying he won't win the belt, but it'll be when they're out the way. I just don't see him as like, there's a missing ingredient there when I look at Hrgović. It's that X factor. Like, for all Fury and AJ are completely different, for example. They're both big guys like Hrgović, but they've got this X factor about them. With Fury, you could argue it's his IQ, his obviously the Gypsy King style. It's very clever and intelligent, and he sets traps. And he used to move really well. We don't know how he moves at the moment, but an AJ, he's got this insane explosive power. When I'm looking at Hrgović, I'm like, for a huge guy, I don't feel like there's any outstanding attributes, but you're just a problem because of the combination that you bring, like the size, the good, solid fundamentals there. But I'm not blown away, but I accept he's a very good fighter.
I think that Hrgović somewhat goes under the radar, and I don't think he did originally. I think there was, for quite a long time, a lot of the boxing public who saw Filip Hrgović as the phrase that we've used time and time again, best of the rest. So at that time, when it was Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua, I feel like, and this was obviously when Usyk was down at cruiserweight, I feel like Filip Hrgović was very much regarded as like best of the rest. And I think obviously he'd done well in the amateurs. He boxed Tony Yoka quite a lot of times. He had a win over Joseph Parker in the amateurs.
What did you make of his win over Zhang?
I didn't think it was... It's hard, isn't it? I didn't think it was controversial. I had spoke about the Zhilei Zhang Filip Hrgović fight, and again, like I spoke about this before Zhang fought Parker, and I said to you that Zhilei Zhang gasses out in fights, and Filip Hrgović very much took advantage, because there was a point in the first round when Zhilei Zhang drops Filip Hrgović. I didn't think it was a legit knockdown. I thought that he sort of pulls him down off the back of the head a little bit, but also, if I scored that knockdown on someone, they tried to say it wasn't a knockdown, I'd be arguing that it was. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't like a proper flush shot that hurt him, but it put him down to
it weren't a backhand on the chin that just caught him. But what I do think is that Filip Hrgović, one, showed a lot of sort of powers of recovery to come back into that fight. And there's a key thing here, very, very key thing, and we're very quick to sometimes disregard it. We don't always look at fighters and think, oh, this guy's got a personal life. And it's funny, we were talking about Ryan Garcia, he was mentioning this too. I think people have stuff go on outside the ring. Filip Hrgovic's father passed away in the build-up to, and he was very close. He was part of the team. He was one of the ones on the night that would be there in the corner and whatnot. And he passed away in the build-up to the Zhilei Zhang fight. The Zhilei Zhang fight was actually originally scheduled for another card. It got pushed back. He then went in there. And for the Zhilei Zhang fight and the Dempsey-McKean fight, we saw a subpar Filip Hrgović maybe. As the story progresses, and time obviously is the best storyteller in this case, we're looking at what Zhilei Zhang's gone on to do, and we're looking at that and thinking, okay, Filip Hrgović actually did what a lot of people, including Joe Joyce, weren't able to do, and that is to claw back a fight against Zhilei Zhang. So I think that until we see Filip Hrgović very much in there with the best of the division, we're not going to really know. But a lot of what we base things on are off of, you know, the performances, the fights, the wins, the losses, the wins, the losses. And I think that stories from the gym, sparring. I mean, I've actually been lucky enough to train alongside Filip Hrgović. I met him years ago before he had turned professional out in Tenerife. He was out in that gym, and I remember looking and thinking, oh my God, and he was a lot slimmer than he is now, right?
He looked like a fucking beanpole.
Honestly, right? So I've walked in the gym and I'm like, I know this guy, I know him. And I was thinking it was because of the WBSS. So it was the Amateur World Boxing Super Series. I'm pretty sure he fought in that. That was the competition that, have you ever seen on YouTube the fight of Usyk and Joe Joyce?
Yeah.
That was the WBSS. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Filip Hrgović fought in that. So I sort of half knew him from that. When I started watching him hit pads, I was thinking, oh my God, this fella's, he's unreal. This fella's the truth. He's the best thing I've ever seen up close. And I've seen like Joe Joyce in the gym sparring, a couple of other heavyweights, not to that standard. Tom Little, a guy that Filip Hrgović actually beat, I've seen him in the gym sparring as well. When I saw Filip Hrgović sparring, I very much agreed that he's rightly the best of the rest, because I had looked at him and I thought, wow, he's good. He was dominating things. And in this crop, this might sound like a stretch, in this era, he's the closest thing, in my opinion, we've got to Vitaly Klitschko.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
He's very Klitschko-esque. And that's why when you went, are you impressed by him? I'm like, it's weird. Like, I was never, like, when you watch the Klitschkos, it's hard to feel, like, impressed. You accept what you're seeing is great, but it's not. There's people who you just wouldn't pay to see. And
would you wake up at 4 a.m. to watch him?
Nah, what the fuck.
Nah.
That's kind of the point I'm getting at. Like, I respect him. Good fighter, and I think that like you said, we're looking at him maybe growing into what because with fighters like him, they need time to season and mature, right? And I think with a Dubois in front of him, asking questions, putting combinations together, not afraid to stand and trade. He's going to have to bring the best out for Dubois, and I think it's a hell of a stage to prove yourself on. You've got His Excellency sitting there, who's the kingmaker. He could put you in a fucking title fight, have a good performance, and you're off to the races. You're, I don't know, 4th, 5th in the queue. We could look at a Parker Hrgović fight as a decider and going, all right, AJ gets the next shot. Who gets the shot after AJ then? Is it Parker Hrgović? I don't know.
I think that until we see Hrgović in there with a Parker, obviously with a Dubois coming up and with some of the other guys, we won't really get excited for him, because I think that style that we spoke about there, it's a bit. So, do you know what? I could use it with Zhilei Zhang. Until Zhilei Zhang fought Joe Joyce, were you that interested?
No.
I wasn't.
You know why? Because these lot need people. They're so good almost that they can just coast to wins. Because when you're 6'6", 6'7", and built like that, who the fuck can fuck with you, really? You're so naturally gifted. You need someone in front of you who's thinking, I'm better than you, I'm going to put it on you, I'm not going to let you just coast it. And unfortunately, it takes for those guys to get to the elite level to bring the best out of them as well.
Filip Hrgović has obviously sparred at a very, very good level. He's the man that did the cut to David Haye, apparently, if you believe that David Haye didn't cut himself, which is what Tyson Fury accused him of. Filip Hrgović is the man that did the cut. We've also heard that Filip Hrgović gave Deontay Wilder the business in sparring in that camp. And then obviously the final bit that we have heard, and you know I've had it on good source that this was something that did happen, was that Filip Hrgović at the Peacock Gym in London knocked out Daniel Dubois. How
does Dubois recover from that though? That's not just something you can just shake off, right? You're walking into a room knowing, right, we're going to fight, and the last time we did, he knocked me clean out. Like, that's a lot to overcome for Dubois.
Listen, again, can I answer that question? Not really. I can only go on how I've felt about things. I have had, I used to drive to Essex to spar this guy, right? And he's very good. He turned pro. He's just boxed for a Southern Area title. And I always felt I could outbox him, but fuck me, he hit hard. And he never dropped me or anything, but a few times he put real dents in me in sparring, right? I was never reluctant to go and spar him again. It's really weird. Some fighters are fearful of pain, fearful of getting hurt. Some don't care about that. Some are fearful of getting embarrassed and getting outboxed. And if the spar went in a way that was competitive until Dubois got knocked out, I think then you're going to see a Daniel Dubois who's come in age, who definitely feels that he is a different person now to all those years ago, and will feel like, okay, I had success against you back then. I need to be better in those moments and be able to do more.
That's the thing that's going to give him confidence. We can see, and I'm sure he can because he's walked the walk, he's better now. So he's just got to believe that that's going to be good enough.
Yeah, I think so. I don't feel like it will be good enough on the night. Yeah. I do feel like I make Filip Hrgović a favourite for this one, maybe a fairly sizable favourite. I just think stylistically, the way they match up, look, Filip Hrgović is good at letting his shots go. He's a very accurate puncher. And what you see that he does, which, again, this is why I compare him to a Klitschko at times, you don't normally see heavyweights these days letting go of combinations, purely straight punches. He will throw 4 straight shots in a row and have success with it. And not a lot of heavyweights can do that. You look at Daniel Dubois, when he lets go of his shots, brilliant. But what he'll probably do is he'll come in, he'll work the body, then come up over the top. And to do that, you're walking into the fire. You're walking into the firing line. You can be caught. And Filip Hrgović can catch you in those moments. So it's a fascinating one. Really, really looking forward to that one.